expert classes.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Matthew Ridgway. I'm a professional chef and I'm here with the Desire Company. We're going to be making a French twist on an American burger with cottage fries. All you're really going to need is a cutting board, a knife, an oven, your Le Creuset pan, a cast iron, and multiple different ingredients such as ketchup, Dijon mustard, Duke's mayonnaise, A1, Worcestershire, Parmesan cheese, shaker cheese, Italian seasoning, smoked paprika, onions, Gruyere cheese, avocado, and burger patties. We're gonna start with our pre-washed potatoes. We're gonna cut them in quarters. So after we cut the potatoes in quarters, we're going to take a different ingredient, Parmesan shaker cheese, smoked paprika, Italian seasoning, Lowry's salt, cracked pepper, fresh sea salt, and extra virgin olive oil. First thing I like to do is I always like to season with salt first and seasonings, then with the olive oil itself. So we season high. I use Big Flake fleur de sel or sea salt, and I crush it in my hands a little bit. I like the crunch when it comes and it sits on the potato itself, and it allows a little bit of different texture, and it has a nice salinity and a little bit of mineral-like quality. I will add my seasonings next. I like the Kraft Parmesan shaker cheese specifically for this. It holds on to the potato really well. Smoked paprika is really nice. It gives a nice smoky quality. Italian seasoning, and then of course the Lowry's. So all over top of the potato itself. Then some cracked pepper. And you want a good amount of olive oil for the potatoes that we're doing. I would say that you need about 1/4 cup of olive oil. Then we toss the potatoes. Feel free to use your hands. So the reason that you use the olive oil and the shaker cheese, you can see that the seasoning is really coating the potatoes themselves. Then we just lay them out. You can use a non-stick cookie tray. I like to put a little bit of foil on the bottom. It helps with cleanup afterwards because I'm a little bit lazy at home and I don't want to spend all my time cleaning. These go into a 350 degrees preheated oven and cook for about 25 to 30 minutes until pierced through with a knife or a fork. And now we're going to prep our onions and burger. As the potatoes are cooking, you want to start to preheat your Le Creuset. It takes a while for the Dutch oven casserole to start cooking or warming up because it is very heavily based and it's got a pretty thick cast iron and the enameling. So as we're waiting for that, we're gonna quickly cut the avocados that we had peeled earlier. And we're just gonna give a quick slice to the avocado. And then you wanna set that aside until later. We're gonna make our dressing as we're still waiting for the pan to heat up. So we're gonna add the mayonnaise to it, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of A1, Dijon mustard. Now normally we would add salt and pepper to this, but I find that the Dijon and the A1 will definitely have enough seasoning and salt, and you're just making basically kind of an uplifted aioli, or mayonnaise as we call it. It has a lot of flavor to it, and it really lends itself well to like that French onion style, almost like you have the components to a steak tartare. So we're gonna set the aioli aside, and by this time your pan should be hot enough. We're gonna take the extra virgin olive oil. We're gonna be adding a little bit of salted butter, so that allows the oil to raise the temperature of the butter. As you can see, the onions are going to be sizzling a little bit. You wanna get a little bit of color on them. As they caramelize, the butter solids are going to interact with the onions, and we're gonna have what's called Maillard reaction, where the sugars in proteins start to come up to the top and start to brown. It's called the browning effect as well. One of the things is that we'll put the butter in first. The butter starts to sizzle. They're gonna start to caramelize. That caramelization is the butter solids. We want to get the butter to be nice and foamy. I like using salted butter over non-salted butter almost in every aspect of the cooking. And the reason is when you're dealing with almost like a liquid medium, liquid penetrates much quicker than solid does. So your liquid medium is your salted butter. Your salted butter also has less water content, so you're going to get a higher temperature cooking and it's going to be a lot nicer. You can see the butter is starting to caramelize a little bit, and this is where we're going to start to add our onions to it. In the kitchen, we'd really get this smoking, but the great thing about the Le Creuset cast iron is there is no hot spots. It's going to be hot throughout. One of the common mistakes of sauteing is to move your pan right away. Shaking your pan is going to diffuse your heat and lower the temperature. A beginner cook a lot of times wants to like touch that pan, wants to shake that pan back and forth. All they're doing is lowering the temperature and you're never going to get good caramelization on it. What I will do as we're caramelizing the onion is I always season through. Now remember, we are using some salted butter, so we want to be diligent in knowing that we're seasoning with salt as well as the salted butter. So we season, I'm gonna season high. Again, using the fleur de sel, I'm breaking it up a little bit. Again, it gives me a nice crunch, nice minerality to it. And then a little bit of cracked pepper. Like before, I love the Peugeot, you can hear it. It's like a machine, right? As you're crunching through, you can see it. With something like this, I like to do a finer grind. Because pepper has a lot of oils in it, the pepper is gonna like really come out in the butter, right? So at this time, you can see that the onions are really gonna start to caramelize. All this steam is the water coming off the onions. Now, if I would have continuously kept moving it, the steam would have kept coming off, coming off, coming off. One of the things is that you want to have that kind of like intentional release of steam and allow that butter to really start to bring out the color of your onions. So after about 20 minutes, I constantly reduce the heat as my onions get darker and darker and darker. It takes about 25 to 30 minutes. If your onions are still cooking, hit pause and join me when they're done. All we're doing is finishing up the caramelization. We're gonna turn down the heat and put these in a plate and set them aside. And next we will be working on the burger patty. Here we are with the Impossible Burger. It actually looks and feels like real meat, but it's vegetables. We're gonna be doing a burger called a Juicy Lucy. This is a burger with 2 patties with cheese in the center. One of the things with Juicy Lucy's, if they're not thin enough, they tend to like overcook, and then overcooked meat for me isn't great. So we're gonna kind of smush out this patty a little bit. Again, seasoned with salt and pepper. Huge fan of the fleur de sel, seasoned pretty high. I like to make a little bit of divot in the center where my cheese is going. Salt and pepper again on both sides. This is a Gruyere cheese. I am more of a meat eater than I am a plant-based eater, but with this in particular, if you do cheese and not meat, Gruyere, I say always buy like the best. This is a Gruyere, this is specifically called Beaufort. It's a cheese from the Alps. It's a really, really delicious cheese. We're gonna put that in between one big monster patty here. Again, with the oil, I wanna put a decent amount of oil in. See how it shines across? You want that. You want to see that little bit of ribbon across and kind of really slowly pulls. That's the viscosity of the oil. And we want a little bit smoking, not super smoking, but we want a little bit of smoke. And you see the oil start to shimmer a little bit. We know that that's reaching its smoking point. We're getting very, very close to the smoking point. This is an Impossible Burger, so it is okay to touch because it's a completely plant-based product, which is pretty amazing because as I'm feeling it right now, it feels like burger meat. It's absolutely mind-blowing that this is actual burger meat or plant-based burger meat because it feels like the real thing. So when you saute anything, you want to tilt your pan away from yourself, right? And as you tilt the pan away from yourself, you lay that in away from yourself and then bring it back. Let it cook. You do want to watch it when it cooks. One reason, you're cooking in a fair amount of oil, even for this cast iron pan. One of the mistakes of cooking in general, especially with meats or meat-like substitutes, is that you want to be able to cook in enough that it kind of creates that Maillard reaction and really kind of caramelizes nicely. So you do want to watch everything, specifically here, because it's not going to take that long. As you can see, what I did was I basically picked up the burger itself, and the burger didn't stick to the pan. Two reasons. One, cast iron doesn't stick very well because of being used over and over again. And two, there's enough oil in the actual pan to allow me to do that. And it was hot enough. Now, one of the things that is kind of strange too is that the burger itself will not render as, say, a beef-based burger. It does have all the principles. You can see it, that it's kind of frying like beef does, but it's not going to render out like, say, a typical beef burger. As I saw that I flipped it, you can see that it has that what's called Maillard reaction, that caramelization on the beef itself. It's really, really nice. It really mimics that kind of burger-like texture that you really look in a burger itself. What makes this interesting, again, is because it doesn't shrink at all. And it's cooking just like a burger, but without all that shrinkage. So whenever you get, 8 ounces of the Impossible Burger, that's basically what you're gonna end up with. Really what we're doing at this point is, because the Impossible Burger is 100% vegetable and it's vegan, that is basically cooked. I could eat that raw, but we want that taste and flavor of that burger. Now, what we really want to do is we want to make sure that cheese is kind of melted inside. So that's what we're kind of waiting for, and getting that like cheese melted inside, which is going to, pretty much happen pretty quickly. You can see that it's starting to bubble in the burger itself. It's going to be almost ready to eat. So about 25, 30 minutes, we take them out. I can feel that, it comes cleanly off the knife itself, and then these are ready to go. The first thing I'll do, as my burger is still continuously cooking, is I'm able to take these wedges out, place them in a nice serving dish. Man, this smells good. And then finish building my burger. What we're gonna do is put a little bit of mayonnaise on both sides of the roll. I myself love kind of like a sloppy burger, so this is really going to lend itself well to be that kind of oversized, like slop burger that you have when you're growing up. Onions, avocado, bun. As you can see, the center starting to ooze out. Put 1/2 in here, save it for someone else. And then the best part, man, that's ridiculous. It tastes like meat. I had my doubts with Impossible Burger, but it definitely satisfies. So let's try a fry. Man, so good. Seasoning, nice and starchy. It's not like gonna be your super fried potato, like crunchy. It's gonna give you that kind of like in between, the best of both worlds of like a crispy potato skin and the best baked potato you ever had. This is a great combination, and no meat. This burger is amazing. I hope you're able to make it at home. Just follow the simple steps, and thanks for joining me.